Yes. The transformation has been completed.
I finally took my HRT 2.
Yes. This is just when that progesterone hits. Can see and hear. Thank you, Onbury. See Cato and not Cato. That's right.
Cato and deer.
I am not a cat. Yes. This is a hoof, not a paw.
Yeah,
Thank you
if you can't
for
tell,
being here,
Charlie
everyone.
is looking at my screen and watching my mouse.
Oh, that's what's going on. I see. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, happy 2023.
Glad tidings. Good luck making it through this one.
Can you listen to your articles on Medium?
Yeah, they have a button at the top where it can just play. Um, it'll just read it out loud
I
to you
did.
from like a little AI voice or whatever.
That's amazing. That's very helpful to
hmm
me. I wonder if I just never noticed. It might be for members or something.
It's on. Hmm, I think it should show. Well, that's actually a good question. The surgery to become a cat. Oh God,
Oh
if
no, I see
only.
it.
Yeah, I think at first it was just on the app, but or like it used to be only
An
certain
autistic
articles,
social
but
butterfly's guide to making friends.
That is
hell yeah,
extremely good information. I didn't know that. I would have used that to
yeah,
reread this article if I had remembered.
yeah. Oh, and Chubby Kumquat, my Pokemon signs are Electric Fairy, and then I have a shiny on there. I would put a dark in there too, maybe, but um, or maybe I have some dark moves, but
There you
Electric
go.
Fairy,
Dark moves.
yes. And somebody did make a personality test out of it that they were kind of still kind of tweaking because it's really hard to make a personality test for like how many Pokemon types are there? Like 20 or something.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Oh wow, got some long chats. Um, Uber Rapidash. Section about friendship and unmasking autism has completely changed my life for the better. The way I view friendships has evolved into something totally different. I have my strawberry people now. I even talked to each of my strawberry people and shared that section of the book with them. One of them bought me a strawberry clothing patch to commemorate the occasion.
Oh,
Oh, that's so
that's
nice.
really,
Wow,
really good.
thank you for sharing that. And for people who haven't read the book, this is something you don't need the book to read. If you just Google Sam Dillon Finch, Strawberry People, he's a trans guy, like coach, autistic person, mostly focuses on eating disorders and like the fawning response to stress. And basically, he has a whole article about how. If you're used to kind of people pleasing and fawning and masking, you might put energy into the wrong friendships, the friendships that are a lot of work, and feel unsafe in the friendships where people are really kind and generous to you. Which, whew, oh, the potion stopped working.
The sun's gone. The moon's gone behind a cloud.
Yes, the powers are not. The Animorph powers have been turned off. But yeah, so this strawberry people exercise is just kind of really thinking about, and the litmus test that Sam Dillon Finch has for this is like, who are the friends that you ghost on, um, or that you don't show up for consistently, because those are often actually the people that are the most forgiving and safe, that you end up taking that approach with, and that it's the people that are overly demanding that you're afraid of having be angry with you. So you want to completely flip that script and really invest more in the friendships where people are showing up for you, even though that feels really scary if it's not what you're used to.
Yeah,
And those are your strawberry people.
it's such a good word.
Crying in the club.
This is Charlie. Um, her her name is Charlie, but we call her Charles. Um, we call her Charles. but she's only one Charles, so we call her Charles. So if you hear me talk
Yes.
about Charles, this is Charles.
And this is the smart cat. Uh, Cooper is
Pitbull
the weird,
dummy.
the simple one. And this one's an empath.
Yeah.
Um, she cries. She runs when she thinks people are crying, which includes laughter. So,
And
like
singing.
all empaths, she's a little confused, but she's got the spirit.
So singing, she doesn't understand. She thinks it's crying.
Yeah. And yeah, the ghosting the strawberry folks. It's like a really good litmus test. Now, there might be some people that you ghost because you dread spending time with them. So that is something that I did add into the book is really thinking about who do you feel drained around because that's an important cue. But like
Right.
often the friends that we have a little bit more latitude with are the ones that are going to be forgiving to us. And that means we end up devaluing those friendships instead of prioritizing them. And that's something a lot of autistic people struggle with is like rank ordering lots of different demands or distinguishing between the levels of depth in different friendships, or even knowing if someone's a friend versus an acquaintance.
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah. So that's why he talks about just literally put a strawberry emoji next to their name when they text you and just prioritize those people because that's your way of reminding yourself this person's important to me. So
And also, okay, I was thinking about this is completely random. Uh, but we looked up the lyrics to what is it? All odd the New Year song
Auld Lang Syne.
Auld Lang Syne, which means times gone by in like
Okay.
Celtic or something we learned. But the lyrics
Oh, it's
are
Celtic.
should old acquaintance be forgot. And
I never
kind
brought to
of,
mind.
I never brought to mind, and I kind of love that. It's like, all right, this is 2023. If you didn't make it to friend this year, if we haven't made it to friend yet, you're
You
gone.
have not been upgraded. Yeah. Wait, so what does Auld Lang Syne mean again?
It means times gone by,
Oh, okay.
or something like that. It's like an expression.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of the
doesn't-
song is actually the opposite of like we should remember all of our old acquaintances today and like reach out to them. But I love the idea of just like time to ghost on anybody who hasn't made the upgrade.
If they haven't, yeah, if they haven't gotten the upgrade, yeah, that was me shutting down my social media DMs. It's like you got the upgrade at a certain point because we were messaging early enough on that like I could suss out if I liked you, or that's it.
So yeah, maybe
yeah.
maybe New Year's is the time where you even it says it in the song. Maybe you kind of choose your strawberry people and you let old acquaintances
some people off.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good time of year to alienate people, disappear, cut people off.
That don't deserve it because you deserve to
Start.
be with your strawberry people and not people that are gonna. But anyway,
Yeah, no, but that's a real thing because I think a lot of the stuff we're talking about today it comes back to and the article that I just wrote this week about being the therapist friend and how to avoid that. It's about avoiding that scarcity mentality because I think a lot of us autistics and ADHDers we're not used to making friends easily. And so then we think we have to take whatever we can get, and that actually takes away a lot of time and energy away from the relationships that are actually good for us. Like we shouldn't just spread ourselves so thin and say yes to everything. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Make sure you guys can still hear us on this screen, unlike last time.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have 40 viewers. Oh, 400 followers. Hello. Hello.
Wow,
Thank you,
damn.
everyone. Thank you for the follows. And thank you for joining us. And we're gonna, this week and hopefully next week, we're gonna try and stream twice a week because we want to make Twitch affiliate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that then, we can, compensate Maddie for all of the amazing work that she's doing, and we'll have custom there's just more features we can unlock, all kinds of cool stuff. So
And Devin.
yeah,
And Devin writing all
Yes.
these articles and bringing them to you.
all these sharticles. Yes. So I'm glad to hear people have been trying the strawberry people thing because that was definitely very helpful for me as well. Uber Rapidash. This is like we're gonna hit on some of the bullet points in the article today, but also it's more of like a free flowing conversation. So it's definitely not like, oh, you didn't do the reading.
Yeah, you didn't do the homework. Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
talk about everything.
yeah. It's for our realizing friendship is supposed to feel good, revolutionized my life. Yeah, yeah. You should leave these experiences feeling, more energy or inspired, or that it was worth all of it. Not exhausted.
Oh, I just realized I'm gonna actually put my picture so you can see what. Can you see the?
Oh yeah.
Now you can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It looks good. So yeah. So this is an article that I wrote on Medium earlier this year, or wait, no, last year. Oh shit. um, in, in 2023.
You haven't written an
Uh,
article all year. You did already release one,
oh
but
shit. Oh God, please don't, because I already in my mind it's bad in there. Don't,
don't give me more ammo. You more ammo. Yeah.
yes, don't give me. Oh my God. Um, yes, but anyway, so this is a piece that I wrote last year about just some strategies that have kind of worked for me as somebody who did not have many friends well into my 20s, didn't know how to do it, and still sucks at the social initiation piece, and some strats for, not speed running, the long haul of
Yeah.
building community.
Because it's hard. It's
Uh,
hard. And I come at it from I think I come at it from kind of an opposite place where it's like I'm really good at the immediate like connecting to people. I just fucking talk to people like all the time, like in life, and that makes it really easy for that initiation part. But I think for me the harder part, especially as an ADHDer, I think for me the harder part is like keeping in touch with people and keeping those things regular. um but yeah, we can talk about some of that stuff as we go through too, so
Yeah, yeah, I think, and that'll be such a great like point counterpoint because it's like, and I struggle with that too. I struggle with the keeping in touch just because of just getting like overwhelmed. But I've also heard so many ADHDers say like they either have this kind of like object permanence
yep.
thing or just like, um, yeah, so just like forget to message someone or like don't perceive that the relationship has like lost anything over time, whereas
Yeah.
on the other party's side they might feel like the relationship is like downgraded just because of the amount of time that's passed, which that's also something I don't really feel like. I'm like,
Yeah,
you know
I think that, yeah, it seems to, because it seems to me that I've had more luck with autistic people too, is because it's I think it is like there's like an object permanence thing with ADHD that I don't know if that is as much in like for autistic people, but like uh I definitely feel like it's more, there's more, and so that's a part of discernment that will, where it's like find people that aren't like, if you're not always reaching out, that they're going to be cool with that. But
Yeah, yeah, because people, yeah, I think you're so right that it comes down to discernment. Because some people have just really, like, to me, outrageous seeming expectations of, like, oh, you didn't message back in this amount of time. And so now I'm freaking out that you're mad at me or something's wrong and I need reassurance. And it's like, whatever attachment system stuff is going on that makes a person feel that way, it's not their fault. But, like, I can't necessarily hold on to that obligation. So people who are very, like, chaotic and in and out and don't see that as a reflection of how much they prioritize the friendship,
right.
like that makes me feel more safe. So, oh, thanks for downloading Twitch, Walmart Couch. That's a great. That's a great name.
That is it.
Um,
Yeah, that's an extremely good name.
yeah.
Thank you for being
Is
here.
object permanence with people an ADHD thing, an ADD thing more than autistic? That's what I hear. But then there's also ADHDers who think that like it's really infantilizing to say that because object permanence is a thing that babies' minds
I
can't
have a
grasp.
baby's mind. It's fine. No. That's a whole man. That's a whole. Should we should just do a whole episode or stream about that whole discourse, but we can't get into it here.
Yeah, yeah, I am definitely curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah. So let's actually start going through this because we're kind of jumping all over the place, and so we have this wonderful slideshow to kind of ground us into the different parts of it.
yeah, I made a PowerPoint. So,
It's
so
great.
these are some of,
It's on brand. It uses our font.
yep, yep. I used the font, the like chill typewriter font, you know. So yeah, so these are some of the subheadings from that old piece on Medium that I thought would be useful things for us to kind of like talk around, and just kind of core like things to think about if you're in the place that certainly I was in my 20s into my early 30s of shit. I don't have many friends. I don't know how to do this shit. I've learned that it's important or you die.
Yeah.
How do I do it? And systematizing it.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if that's a thing that you mentioned in your article, but I don't remember. It's important to come back down to our our central tenet of this the one of the axioms of I think a thing both of us believe, which is just like this is also capitalism's fault, like, and just the whole society. You know, we live in a society like we should not like the assumption that we're in a meritocracy and you like get friends based on merit, but it's like no, actually like society is set up to make this really fucking hard,
Yes.
and
It's a lot of work.
especially really hard. Sorry, Charles is stretching adorably. No, she stopped, but
So chonk.
yeah, but yeah, exactly, you need to do it or else you die is like it feels that way, and it's like fucked up how in some ways like there's not the fucking support structures built into society. You have to build those for yourself, and it sucks that like it's harder for people that have aren't neurotypical, and people that are disabled and all that stuff. So
Right. Yeah. It's capitalism keeping us so overworked and tired that we don't have time to make friends. It's, car culture, meaning that things are really spread out and inaccessible. So you can't have that experience of like just walking over to your, neighbor's house because you're friends with your neighbor and you can just hang out on the couch with them and like hang out casually. Like, that kind
right,
of coveted, or at least for me, kind of coveted thing that you would see in like sitcoms in the 90s of like, oh,
right.
you just come over and you just hang out without even announcing yourself. Yeah, and you can just be the
Kramer.
like weird Urkel, yeah, Kramer, etc. So it's car culture, it's overwork, it's how inaccessible most public spaces are. All of these things make it really, really hard. And what that means is you shouldn't feel bad that it's a reflection on your worth or lovability as a person if you
Yep.
don't have a lot of friends right now. And you will have to do a lot of work to like make it happen. And so, it's not, again, and that's also not a sign of failure on your part.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So for the first bullet point, that's kind of what we were saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That the first thing to know is that because I'm all about having realistic expectations rather than optimistic ones, and I think that does help when we have our expectations in check. It helps keep us from having as much of a freak out when there is a social failure because you're gonna have things that feel like a social failure, even
Yeah.
if it's not really a failure. It's just didn't work out, not compatible with the other person,
Yep.
you know, didn't like the scene. Um, Building quality supportive relationships takes a lot of time because the way that we develop intimacy with people is through having productive conflict, talking about that conflict, and then kind of repairing the relationship and growing. And you just can't do that instantly. And that's part of why parasocial relationships aren't real relationships, is that the other party doesn't know you and has no gauge on whether you're trustworthy or what your view of the world is. They can't, relate to you that way.
Damn, never
But real friendships
thought
are that
about
way.
it in quite that way. That's some real shit right there.
Yeah, yeah. Like we can feel a lot of stuff for the people that we have parasocial relationships with, but they can't ever feel it back, and we can't ever, you know,
There's not the conflict
do.
there because they can't disagree with your when you have a feeling about them. They and
Hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. But anyway,
Yeah. Um, one thing that like was kind of a big breakthrough for me was realizing I used to have this fantasy of like finding community, and I think this is something that queer people talk about a lot.
yeah,
I think it's also a very uniquely white thing because it's kind of this weird colonialist kind of idea of like I'm just gonna find the
interesting.
space for me, and
Mm-hmm.
it already exists, and it's gonna be my space with my people, and I'm gonna love it.
Uh,
And
uh, I, m-
yeah.
my random thing is my favorite shows are like I love like Firefly and Cowboy Bebop, and those shows are basically just like and now like the Expanse also series, and it's like yeah, you'll just fall into a spaceship of criminals that like all kind of love each other but also hate each other, and it's like that's not how that works. As much as we all want to have a spaceship where we fly around and do like crimes or hunt bounties or whatever, like it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean that's sometimes what some coworkers relationships are like if it's like actually good where you have each other's backs and you kind of
Yeah.
like develop trust through shit going off the rails like,
Yeah.
you know, as much as I say like work isn't your family or whatever, like sometimes your like comrades are, you know, in a way. Um
And,
but
and that's another thing where it's, capitalism. It's like if we had more choice about our workplaces, that could be more of a place that is, had that had that stuff.
right.
Charles,
Yeah.
move your butt. Um, oh yeah, and yeah, Abby, go around. This is you asked. That was a second ago, but yeah, this is we're going through the whole article kind of like bullet point by bullet point. So this is just the very like the third slide.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like before you even like set out on like, oh shit, I think I need to make more friends. I want to start kind of meeting more people. Just like the first thing I recommend personally is just like knowing that you're not a fuck up or like an unlovable person if you feel really socially isolated right now.
Yeah,
Especially after the pandemic, like or
yeah,
during the pandemic, obviously it's ongoing. Like my God, like and anyway, I used to have this problem where I had this dream of community, right? And then I would join, you know, this queer discussion group or this, you know, theater company or whatever it is, thinking, okay, I have to love all of these people and they'll care about me and we have to preserve this community. And like, there were always horrible things that happened in any of these kind of spaces that were like really disillusioning, you know?
yeah,
But from every single one of those spaces, I still retained some friendships and I've built a community piece by piece from those relationships with those people in those communities that actually have proven to personally be trustworthy to me or like valuable in my life. So that's the model that's worked for me more than like this idea of like, oh, you're gonna find the queer community,
yeah.
or this fandom is a community. I think that can get kind of toxic and coercive and manipulative pretty quick. Oh, some good stuff in the
Yeah,
chat.
I think I also had a not Nam de Gorilla. I also had a really tough home life when I was a kid, and I think that definitely puts extra pressure on it. I think it's something that especially like a lot of queer people relate to because it's hard. We all have some of that almost, but yeah, I had a pretty traumatic home life, and I know that that is a huge part of the pressure that I feel on that stuff.
Yeah, that's a big part of where the found family kind of fantasy comes from for a lot of queer people and neurodivergent people of like I'll find the people who are alienated in ways similar to how I am, and we won't
Yeah.
judge each other and we'll kind of protect each other. And that is real. It's just you don't end up like all in a spaceship. Like if you just ended up on a
Yeah.
spaceship with any random queer people uh, or neurodivergent people, like they still might really suck hard,
Yeah.
um, or just not be your bag, you know.
Yeah.
So it ends up being a little more complicated. Um, Avid Osef, I think often of this quote from Toni Morrison: "Our friendships with other women are the currency of our lives. In the absence of so many support systems, we are it for each other. You have to work at your friendships with the same seriousness you did when you went to school."
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a big thing too, right? It's like school and work, just like you're near each other all the time, but like as an adult you have to work at those things. But
Yeah, yeah. And deepening relationships rather than just kind of, because I think that speaks to both Emery Day, Julie, and Eric Six Word Stories comments about like, you have people at work or people at school that you kind of can mix with and gel well with. Maybe you have some in jokes, you have kind of a rapport with them, but it doesn't necessarily go any further than that. And that it's the conversion. It's all
yeah.
about getting the conversion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can go on to the next slide. Oh, I think it's a little off center because of the maybe the comment or
Oh yeah.
something.
Oh yeah, weird.
Or I don't know. That's just a guess why it would be doing that. And yeah, and so this is very timely. Your comment, Mav Magic, about like how do you do the thing. And you mentioned I literally started a support group to create the community I was looking for. Yeah, and I used to do that same kind of thing too. Um, Scheduling parties, scheduling like community events. Oh,
Weren't all the same. The ones with comments were like a different size, so I just
oh,
full screened it. So
yeah.
now we'll be able to see. They'll
Oh,
be at the
yeah.
same
That
time again.
that makes sense why that would change it. Yeah. Which those are all viable options, but like I think one thing to be careful about is like cross streams with community support or activism and friendship, because then if your one place for connection is also a place where you talk about traumatizing things and have to do work
Yeah.
for others or for a cause, that can really be not good and draining. So, so here are some examples of places where I've kind of found groups to attend and meet people and do things. Maddie, as a extrovert, how do you make friends? You just
I don't.
because you're good at the cold approach. You're good at the like.
I am. I think these are all like pretty good examples. Like I don't know. I don't. I think for me it's like that kind of conversion part, which we'll kind of talk about some in a second. But like, yeah, I think these are all really good examples. I'm trying to think of specific examples of things that um, I was involved in a makerspace for a while. That was really fun. Um,
Ooh.
Volunteering has been a big one. Um, I had clubs. Yeah, queer bars is sort of that same thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious in the chat if what are ways that you have met friends um, as an adult, met friends, and what are those places, and like just in general, and also like what are some of the weirder places that you've met friends. um
Yeah.
I know we you talk about in the article how we met actually, and
Mm-hmm.
that was, I feel like that was such a great example of like, we met at a Dorian Electra concert. um
Mm-hmm.
and I had driven like 4 hours too. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like because I do not usually make friends at events like that because I don't initiate with people much. And like, yeah, so we were both at this Dorian Electra concert as well as Maddie's spouse, Megan, and and my friend who was going to go with me couldn't make it, so I was like kind of just kind of off by by myself for most of this concert, and I was feeling a little bit socially anxious. And I think Maddie, you just like complimented my outfit or just said something, like,
We ended up right in the same spot on the dance floor, which helped. And then, yeah, I think I complimented something. And I think I may have asked you if you wanted to go in front of me too. Because
oh yeah, to be able to see. Yeah.
because I was just when I'm at a concert, I'm always like, oh, I'm 6'2", so I'm always like, oh, I'm gigantic, I don't want to get in people's way. So but yeah, I mean, we basically ended up just like being at that concert together the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, and you and Megan both kind of like, I think pretty quickly after that interaction asked if I wanted to kind of like stick around and like, with you guys and like kind of like,
Yeah.
we were dancing and we were like interacting and like responding to this like the music and talking about things that people that were performing, and then when they got in line to see Mood Killer to get like, right, yeah, I think you
Yep.
wanted to get in line to get an autograph or just do a meetup and like take a photo with Mood Killer, and you both asked if I wanted to like hang out with you for both of those things because we waited in line for Mood Killer and then also for Dorian
Right.
Electra.
And then
And so then that just, yeah.
we kind of did that, like we became friends outside of that, but then when we still went to Dorian Electric concerts, and then we would also like do that at other Dorian concerts too, like we just like grab people,
Meet up.
yeah, like meet people,
Yeah.
and then but also just like random people, like grab them into our little group.
Yeah, that's right. Because, like, again, extrovert, non-autism powers. Like the next Dorian Electric concert we went to the next year. Like by the time I showed up, and I brought some friends of mine and introduced them, and now y'all are friends. And you had already befriended and collected another person in line who had like traveled to the concert from like Kentucky or something like that. I think is where they were living at the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, yeah. Um, which that kind of like start up a conversation with someone and then have it become a friendship is like not something I know how to do, but I was in the situation at the right time.
Yeah.
And you guys were just both so like warm and pleasant, and it was just so easy that it was like, yeah, it became a friendship really quickly, and it just felt very magical and
Yeah.
lovely because that, you know
That
that
was
doesn't
good.
that doesn't happen that often.
I know.
So I see some people listed other places where they met friends. Witch Camp. That
That's
sounds amazing.
incredible.
Kink Dungeon. Yep. Kinky people I've noticed, like kink community scene, people really want to like chat and I like nerds in general. Like I feel like at
Yeah.
most nerdy spaces, people want to talk about the shit they're into, and there's more latitude to be awkward a little bit. Like adorkable, awkward, not to be a millennial. But,
Oh my god. Fuck crustable.
yeah, you cromulent fuck puppet or whatever the fuck. Which I understand Zoomers might find that all very cringe, but like there's nothing I feel more comfortable around than like a weird Gen Xer in a utilikill. Like, you know.
Yeah. You'll find a lot of those. You'll find a lot of those at Kink Dungeons and Dungeons and Dragons meetups. There's a big
Yes.
overlap. Queer Choir is great. I want to know.
A shared activity is good.
Yeah, I love so many of these, and so many of them I'm like, I want to know everything about that, but
Yeah, queer b-ball again. Shared activity is really good, and it's kind of nice to take the pressure off of like small talk when you are doing something. Discord. One Bree said the Discord cutekeyboard.club, which is for mechanical keyboards.
that's really good. I'm imagining all like those setups where it's like pink keyboard, pink computer, ear headphones.
Catgirl. Yeah, I mean, from TikTok, I've learned just from people memeing it on TikTok, there's a whole world of just girls who talk in baby voices and have Discord simps who just send them free things and games. And they have cute keyboards.
We'll get there on this channel. Anyway.
Yes. We'll have our reverse Finster moment.
Yeah, if you know any simps, send them our way. No.
Yes. um, Bike rides. Oh, Eric says, I met Devin in middle school when I saw him shaking down on nerds' money. I told him to stop, but he pulled a blade on me and said, "Smash this nerd with me or die." And here I am. And that's how it happened.
Yep, I believe that.
Facebook groups, OkCupid, Lex.
Yeah, that's another really good thing. Is there? I don't know how successful it is, but you can absolutely use dating sites for all this stuff. Like you can make a dating profile and be like, I am only here for friends, um, and that is absolutely a way to do things. I'm curious if anybody in the chat has made that work.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Cupid. Transmask camp in Vermont. Oh my God. The flannel boys. Protect me. I'm scared of nature.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
I,
oh,
oh,
go
go
on.
ahead.
You go first.
One thing that I think, there's like such a wealth of options, actually. I think people get so overwhelmed that gives them like the analysis paralysis. I think, especially if you have ADHD, that there's so many options of places to meet people, and none of them are perfect on your optimization matrix.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what do I go to? And I think part of it is just like consistency, which we'll get to in the next like slide or two. But I think, since it is a lot of work and it's a thing that under capitalism we have to do almost deliberatively, I literally will have like an hour every week where I'm like, okay, I know, for example, I'll just use real examples from my real life. I bought all this latex stuff and I had all this fun at first. I want to hang out with more rubber people. I want to hang out with more furries. So I got on Facebook, set aside an hour every week. What are the furry meetups happening in Illinois,
Yeah.
in the Chicagoland area? And oh, okay, they have a once a month arcade meetup. I'm gonna add that to my calendar and just have it recurring so that I have a reminder every time it's happening. Or like the Chicago pet play people have a pet karaoke thing at this bar. So I was
That's
just like,
very cute.
at some point, I'd like to go to that. So I'll just add it to my calendar. Like,
Right.
just set aside whatever a manageable amount of time is for you. So for me, it's like an hour a week to just kind of research things and populate your calendar with options. Um, and you don't have to go to all of them, but keeping track of them and then showing up to a few things consistently is how you start to kind of build relationships with people.
Yeah. Walmart Couch asked, "How do y'all start convos with people? IRL, I'll platonically compliment what someone's wearing, but that reads as flirting a lot. Also, online convos starters. Yeah, I don't know. It's so situational. It's hard, and it's hard for me to describe that stuff really well. One rule of thumb, you already said like compliment what somebody's wearing. I think that's really good. One random thing I have is a a good rule is like only compliment things that people can change themselves. I think that's kind of could be somewhat obvious, but like hair is like one of those things that's sort of on the line, because like hair is a thing that you can't, you are born with, and there's some things you can change. So like I'll totally compliment on somebody's like dye. If they have dyed hair, I'll totally compliment it. But it's like if it's not dyed, or if it's not cut in a very like obviously specific way, I might not compliment that. But that means,
Right.
clothes, shoes, like tattoos are another thing where it's like technically that is a thing that you change, but like you don't have like you don't change, you can't, it's like it's permanent. So it's like, and it's also just like people ask about that all the
Pe-
time.
yeah, and people sexualize tattoos or touch people on the tattoos, so that can be. Usually, it's fine if it's in a visible, kind of non-sexualized place. Probably fine to comment on.
Right.
Um,
But at the same
I
time, it's so over, people always ask about tattoos, so it's like, but
Right. I think commenting on something that's happening in the space and kind of bringing the person into your reality through remarking about something, that's like one of
yeah.
the rare forms of social initiation I can do. Um, so especially if I'm in some like volunteer meeting or activist group or reading where then something weird and awkward happens,
Yeah.
because I'm a hater and so I want to find the other haters, and so it actually works pretty naturally that like kind of being Statler and Waldorf, the two Muppets that shit talk, like
Hmm.
I'll try to like kind of be like, oh, like that, like
Right.
get a load of this guy to someone, and that builds instant intimacy. It doesn't. it still takes time. That person then becomes your person that you can throw a look to when something weird happens at the function. And after doing that a couple of times over the course of a few weeks or months, there's a rapport there.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to do. Um, a couple people talking about making friends from dating apps and that kind of working out. That's good. Yeah. My son often says, "I love your aesthetic." Yeah,
Yeah, that's really
that's
good. That or I've said vibe before. Yeah, your whole look, because that is really like, yeah.
Avid Osef says, "I feel like I don't get a clear understanding of the distinction between dating and friend making." I don't think it has to be any different, really. Like, as long as you're being clear about what you want, like, they're both about conveying, "I like you, I want to spend more time with you, here's what that means."
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you have to change those things.
Yeah, I think it's and it gets complicated of like what, like, I don't know, our expectations on stuff. And but yeah, I think that we talked about that, what, like, what was it? Oh yeah, when we were talking about dating, like, um just be really communicative. You, Devin, you were kind of talking about like the bullshit idea of like autistic superpowers, where it's like the idea of like, for people with autism, and I think uh, some with ADHD too. It's like there's this impulse to be like really clear and communicative, and like, and and some people can be uncomfortable with that, but that's fine if they're uncomfortable with how you communicate. Like, they they're not somebody you want to date, like we were talking about before, or be friends with. And so
Right.
being really like, just communicate. Like, if for example, if you're in a situation where you're unclear, like, what is the deal here, just ask. Like, it is possible that people are going to be uncomfortable with that, but like, it's better to know, and it's better to like have like break down that masking stuff of like, you know it's just better to know, and better to
Right.
know that they know how you're going to communicate.
Yeah, because both neurotypical culture and straight culture, which are the same thing,
Yeah.
are all about not conveying explicitly what you want and naming it, because there's certain things that you're supposed to want, and it's just assumed based on a very narrow script of what life is supposed to be. And so once you break out of that, you are sometimes going to have the problem, where you are conveying to someone that you like them as a friend, and because you're giving them really genuine attention and you're being a good friend to them, they might mistake that for flirting or attraction. And that doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong, right? Like, you shouldn't, I don't think you need to worry about that too much, because I think in most respectful friendships, even if somebody gets a signal that you're not actually putting out, you can clarify that as soon as you communicate about it. And that's something that's happened to me plenty of times. Um,
Yeah.
it's really,
Oh,
oh yeah, go ahead.
go, or, no, go on.
I think it's only if somebody has really weird beliefs about what friendship versus relationships are, that are from a really like hetero lens, that's going to be a problem. And it probably would have been a problem regardless. Or some sense of entitlement to you, the like nice guy syndrome kind of thing. But for most cases, like, it's really just a matter of like articulating how you actually feel. And yeah, because I think a lot of dating and flirting rules are all about creating this artificial version of yourself, which you don't want to do if you're trying to avoid masking and things like that.
Yeah, and it's the same for friendship. You don't want to have a friend on false pretenses. um
Right.
I uh Lenair Lenera Len Art Lau, or "I love your bag jacket thing. If someone has a thing covered in pins and patches, me, I'm the one with the bags covered in pins and patches." And yeah, I think that's a great strategy, because like, also, if somebody comment, like, have like, if you wear like like a denim jacket with a bunch of pins, that's a bunch of things for other people to be like, "Oh, I love Pokemon," or whatever it is. And then you can turn that into, you ask them a question about, what is
Yeah.
like right? And then also like that stuff is, if there is something like that, it's great because then you can pivot that conversation into a broader conversation about, like, if they have a Pokemon pin and you say you like that, and if there is an opportunity to talk to them more, start talking about Pokemon or whatever it is. um yeah, that can be a great thing.
Yeah, follow-up questions are always really helpful. If somebody's wearing a Pokemon pin, ask them, oh, if you've been playing the latest game, or like, what's your favorite game in the Zelda series, or like, what did you think of that finale of House of the Dragon, whatever the fuck it is, because then
Yeah.
that gets you talking and building again more of a rapport beyond just, oh, thanks, um,
Yep.
and yeah, because it can kind of be tricky to kind of move it farther. Um, Witchy Faye says, I asked a new very close friend what he expected or wanted from us, and we were able to talk very openly about it. And then I felt so relieved that it was clearer. It had been weighing me down without me even noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The kind of people who freak out about being asked those kind of questions are people who, like, that's probably going to be a problem in the future anyway. So they'll either learn to appreciate the directness and get more comfortable with it, or they'll see themselves out. And those are both actually good outcomes.
Yeah. Six words. I wonder if there's a way to make friends with people with whom you have no commonality at all, be it workplace, school, or any other forced proximity, demographics, or shared past circumstances, no shared interests, etc. Like, could you become friends with some random person at Walmart? I think that one thing is also like you could, but I think a big reason that you want to find people with shared common interests is like is that makes it so much easier to continue the friendship, because then you're finding things that, like, you can continue to do going forward and talk about, and like I think there's totally coworkers that I've had that I've felt really close to, um but like we haven't had a lot of shared stuff, and so it would be hard to turn that into like uh a longer friendship, just because, like,
Yeah, there aren't activities to kind of keep maintaining the relationship.
right.
And people also have more of a like protective bubble around them if they're just shopping at Walmart.
Yeah.
Um, and and I think it varies on like if you're in a city, people have more of a bubble on them because they see more people, and so they have more interactions they need to just ignore, and not register as social almost. Versus in a smaller town where people have longer conversations with people passing them on the street. You almost acknowledge everyone you see, and there's just more social, again, scarcity. So people are more likely to, I think, the more rural and small town it is versus the more kind of urban and dense.
Yeah, I think there's there's a big cultural element to this too, that I wonder if, like, I think, like, we're both from the Midwest too, so I wonder if that has and like, I don't know, a part of this
Definitely.
too. So just
Yeah, yeah, New York, the bubble's completely different. It's like everything's public and everything's private at the same time. So you can
mm-hmm,
kind of talk to someone without them getting weirded out, but there's also not a presumption of like the relationship continuing because there's millions of people there. Yeah, it
mm-hmm.
definitely varies. I feel like we could go on to the next
Yeah, no, totally.
slide. I feel like we covered that one pretty well. Um, I want a friend who is 100% unlike me in every single way. I want to get as far away from myself as possible in that regard. Well, there might be some things to work on there. But no, I feel you. I'm like I also just want to surround myself with people I find interesting, which
Yeah.
sometimes that's gotten me into some scrapes because if somebody believes something, if I'm in a truck, in a moving truck, and the mover is telling me he believes that mesas are calcified tree stumps from from the past, and that humans used to be that size too, I want to talk to him.
That's definitely interesting, but
But maybe not a good friend.
uh, so yeah, this is about when you do go to an event that you haven't been to before.
Yes. So it's not just enough to, and I think this is where a lot of people get stuck. In my experience, you're like, okay, I want to meet new people. You find a book club, you find a workout class, whatever it is, a knitting class. You go to it, You feel really uncomfortable because it's new. You're not in on any of the inside jokes, and so you feel, left out, even if nobody's actually doing anything intentionally to be cold or exclusive to you. Because you're processing so much anxiety and acclimating to an unfamiliar environment, you are not having a good time. So then you're like, well, fuck that. I'm not going to do that again. That sucked.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not a good test case. Like your first time going somewhere is almost always going to blow because you're going to feel really uncomfortable and you don't know anyone. So you really, I can't remember where I first heard this rule, but like, unless something really fucked is happening, if people are being like bigoted to you or like, you see a clear red flag, obviously don't put yourself through that again. But in the absence of that, give a space 3 tries before you call the bricks on it, is what I recommend and has
Yep.
worked pretty well for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times for like a lot of clubs and public spaces, people will be in and out. So the first time you show up, people there won't necessarily be as invested in you, whereas like it's just a basic like kind of like safety mechanism, I think, in a lot of people's, an energy preservation thing
Yeah.
in a lot of people's minds. Once they've seen you multiple times, people feel more safe. They might actually be wary of you just as you are wary of them because they just don't know what you're about yet. So and people just like someone that they have like already processed and feel familiar with. It just makes
Yeah.
them feel more safe.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street in that regard.
Yeah. And yeah, I like the anxiety and unfamiliarity. Like it's just gonna be bad in some ways. Like that's normal. Give it another shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Maddie, is this anything that you've had experience with, or do you not have that kind of social anxiety going into some place new
See, I don't know. I feel
for
like I
you?
have more. I it's more about just like I think it like it can be really helpful to go multiple times. Like it's not as much the uncomfortableness. And I've talked about this in a previous time. Is like I get more. It gets harder for me to go back because I'm fine like the first time, and then I leave and I'm like, oh my god, I fucking like I fucked everything up. Like I have that like what is it the like
The retroactive social anxiety thing?
yeah, that's like huge for me. But like it's easier to go like so it's for me sometimes it's really hard to go the second time, but once you go the second time and you realize like you know it's going to get like easier and like people aren't weird to you because of the thing you did last time, like they don't care.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I would imagine also just as an ADHD thing, a lot of times people with ADHD say that they have a lot of momentum to start something, but then that kind of can trickle out. So I think I would imagine a lot of, and from what I've observed, a lot of ADHDers have the experience of like they try a new thing, they're excited about it,
Yep.
and then it kind of they just forget, something else goes on, or they
Right.
have those feelings that we all have of like social anxiety of like, did people really like me there? So I think
Yeah.
putting
Going.
the thing in your calendar, yeah, and
Yeah.
going
And
multiple times can push through that.
yeah, because you're not going to make a friend the first time that stays. You had like that. That's kind of the thing we were talking about this whole time. It's just like, you know, it's a sustained over time thing that turns somebody into a friend, and so you can't. You have to go back, keep going back, and like make it a priority.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, all right, well, let's see. What is this? Uber Rapidash. I once made a friend at my apartment complex's laundry center. I complimented her dress, and somehow it went from there. I think just causing a little interaction reveals a little bit of a person's personality. She was the best neighbor I ever had. Turned out we were both queer and neurodivergent and huge geeks. This is so, especially in your neighborhoods, like we're so detached from each other when knowing your neighbors is just a really helpful thing.
Yeah.
This is something that P.E. Muskowitz talks about. This is someone who lives in like Brooklyn or something, and they wrote a book that was about gentrification. And at the conclusion of the book, they basically said like, one of the small things that I'm trying to do to fight gentrification now as someone who's both been gentrified upon and then because I had to move away to a cheaper neighborhood became a gentrifier. That was kind of their story was like, I
Interesting.
just say hello to everyone in my neighborhood. Like, I'm trying to break that anonymity that makes this just a real estate property,
Right.
and make it instead a human thing. Um, and that's, yeah, I think just saying hi to people and building that familiarity, it helps. Like you said, a little bit of personality glimmering through helps people feel safe because a lot of people are socially anxious almost all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just not just autistic people.
Yeah. I think that stuff is so important, but it's also, I think it's really scary to like get to know your neighbors, because it's like, what if they're awful, and then I have to know this awful person is like around me at all times. But it's super important, because it's like, you're the one that is there. Like, if somebody is, breaking into a neighbor's house, like, you're there to possibly not call the police. You're there to like be able to do something in instead of calling the police. Or if somebody is like, having a mental health crisis, and like, if your neighbors, you're more, as a neighbor, you're more likely to be in the vicinity, and you're like, oh well, I know this person, I know that they are not violent, they are just having a mental health crisis, and I can like talk them down from, whatever is happening, instead of like, that stuff is super, like, that stuff is super important, as even
Yeah,
even though it's scary.
and that's stuff that I only really got to like experience like during the pandemic. Like I was outside a lot because that was the one place you could be. And so I saw a lot of my neighbors really consistently, and I saw people break up fights. I saw people help someone who was overdosing. I saw people kind of have debates amongst themselves about, should we call the cops on this situation? No, let's not do it. And it just really, restored my faith in humanity in a lot of ways. And that included talking to, like an 80-year-old Trump supporting black woman who wanted like the military to come in Chicago and clear everything out,
Oh my
but like
god.
she had that point of view. She
Right.
had that point of view because she had a like nephew or something who had gotten shot in like kind of gang related activity, and she in her mind was like, we need more police response. That's what she believed or whatever. And
Right.
so even for me it was good to talk to, like knowing that there's plenty of like black people even in Chicago who have had that kind of thinking, reinforced for them from the media, and just, like that people cope with and have different reasons for arriving at what political viewpoint they have, and that I don't need to be scared of everyone who, really I really disagree with. Like, her reason for getting there is, like it's something worth like having
Valid.
that conversation with, because she cares about her community and her family and people. Like she's not,
Yeah.
your my stereotype of like a Trump supporter or a pro cop person. So, you know. So I think even for the, oh, what if my neighbor's scary and has bigoted viewpoints thing, sometimes, and I say this as someone who's been like, like uh, homophobically like harassed like right outside my like apartment or whatever. Like, so I do get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. I yeah. Not Nam to girl. I yeah. Know how that goes.
yeah, yeah. And it's hard because it's, you can't escape your neighborhood,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it can feel very exhausting. And as well as dangerous at times. But usually, I think, and if Photo were here, they could also speak to it, Kelly, because they have, they live in the suburbs, have a across the street kind of Trump supporting neighbor, and it turned out that that neighbor was just as scared of them as they were of that neighbor.
Yeah.
Um, and once they started talking to each other about just stuff in the neighborhood, snow plows and how are your kids doing and things like that, it helped lower the anxiety on both their sides, um, which I think ended up being really worthwhile. Um, but it's tough. Like,
Yeah.
it's tough. Oh, Eric, and you're kind of talking about, Eric, with your kind of quality of like your way of building intimacy with someone is busting their balls,
Yeah.
and I love that.
That's it's good, and you're going to find people that love that, You don't want
Yeah,
to hide that, because then you're going to be annoyed that, you know, people aren't into it later.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great quality. It's definitely one that helps make me feel safe way more than like effusive warmth. That creeps me out. Whereas when someone's like, "You suck ass,"
Yeah.
and I didn't read your book, I'm like, "Good." Yes.
All right.
Oh, and this one's very simple. I love this one. Okay, so you've committed to going to this event that you've looked up. You put in your calendar 3 times. You're going to go 3 times, and when you go, you can abide by my lovely friend Melanie's rule. You don't have to do shit, say shit, or feel shit
Yeah.
while you're there.
Yeah. I love the
Take the pressure off.
yeah, I love the feel shit because it's like even in your you're not gonna have thought crimes. You can just be in your mind. Like it doesn't matter. You don't have to like enjoy it. Like it's fine.
Yeah, it's like the way a lot of people talk about going to the gym. Lots of people don't like exercising, but they say, "Oh, it has a mental health benefit for me. My doctor recommended I do it. Whatever. I don't like it, but I've decided it's worth the discomfort, and I found a way to do it that makes it worth the discomfort for me." I think for some of this initial stage socializing stuff, sometimes you can justify it to yourself that way, where it's like, I don't know what to say to anyone.
Yeah.
I feel really out of place, and I'm mad at myself for not enjoying it. Thought crimes aren't real, emotion crimes aren't real. Those things just happen.
Hmm.
You don't have to say shit. You don't have to pretend to be having a good time. You don't have to do anything that people are doing. If they invite you to play a game or do something that you don't want to do, you don't have to do shit. You're just there pushing yourself into the challenge zone, and that doesn't mean that you have to like torture yourself while you're challenging yourself, you know. So I love this rule. And yeah, it's it's uh it's very funny, especially if you know Melanie, that like, because this was her rule for like making new friends at BDSM munches. So
Right.
this 6 foot tall bitch would show up in a tight fitting latex dress, titties out, and just not talk to anyone. and,
I
everybody,
could I could absolutely imagine that.
and everybody loved her.
Oh
Like,
my god. Yeah. Yep.
it's like you don't have to be fake nice. Like just and now she's like beloved in that scene, even though she's not like she doesn't have the time to be super active in it right now. It's just
Hmm.
like, oh,
I can.
like one time she went. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I could absolutely imagine that. Like that tracks to me perfectly.
Yeah, but you don't have to be a 6 foot tall bitch in a latex gown for this to work.
Yeah.
You can go to the game night and say, "Oh, I don't want to play that game. I'll just watch you guys play," or like, you
Right.
know, do whatever. Just acclimate to the space. You don't have to talk to anybody. You know.
Nam de Gorilla, do you have any easy de-escalation tips if proximity situations like neighbors suddenly bigoted or otherwise too much? I think having some tools would make the risk easier. I wish I had more to tell you because I have also had that thought. My my neighbors have had their dogs out in weather that I don't really agree with, and it's like I don't, how do you how do you navigate that without turning it into something that's like hugely a problem? So I don't know. I don't know if it's something that we can really work out all. It might be a little too far out, but other than just I feel you on that.
Yeah. It depends on if we're talking de-escalation in the like avoiding calling the cops kind of way.
Right.
Because then sometimes you can kind of collaborate to problem solve, which I think is pretty different from the scenario of someone in your neighborhood is targeting aggression at you.
Yeah.
Then what you usually want to do is gray rocket, be like very like just excuse yourself to something to get out of that space as quickly as possible is usually what you want to do if you're on the receiving end of any shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know, um, staying safe is most important. And if they want to get a rise out of you, the only thing that'll distinguish that is them not getting anything and not having a target. Um, Whereas if it's something like you can see somebody Karening in your neighborhood, and this is where it is good to have said hi to your neighbors in the past. If you see some, white lady with her hands on her hips looking like she's about to call the cops about something,
Yeah.
if you said hi to her before, you can kind of come out and say, "Hey, what's going on? Oh, I don't think we need to, like do that. I'll keep an eye on it."
Yeah.
Like what, or like why don't we just, like suggest alternate courses of action, and that's where having a little bit of a rapport can help. But that's a very different situation versus protecting yourself. You
Right.
know. Monster said, I'm trying to look outside my age range for my next friend. There's 600 people in my town, and most of them are over 50. The last across the street is in her 80s, and I can see she's into plants and gardening like me. My goal is to have her for coffee next year. I'm curious about her. She's lived in that house for 50 plus years.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm convinced there's a lot of potential there for pleasant social encounters, so I'm going to chase that. That sounds so nice.
Yeah.
And I bet she would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, and and like cross-generational friendships are so valuable because the social norms are different. It's like learning a different culture, like in some ways, and like just getting a sense of your own history in the neighborhood, or history as a person who's into plants through connection with somebody else who's been into it for a long time. It just helps life feel so much more rich.
Yeah. I hope I have
So
younger friends when I'm that age. Like I'm gonna be sad if I don't, and and
yeah,
there's so much value both ways.
right. And I bet just based on it being a small town and her being older, like probably you could literally knock on her door and be like, I love your garden. Like, you want to come over and like see my plants sometime and just like have coffee and, whatever. And then you can just kind of ask her about like how she's seen the neighborhood change. And like, I don't know, older people just have so many stories and so much knowledge in them, to share that like it would probably be so lovely just to even hear her talk about everything, um, if she's cool. So that sounds dope. Let me know how that goes because that sounds
Yes.
sick.
Yeah. Seriously.
Oh, Eric, I'm sorry that that reading the book was how somebody found out that you'd been to jail. That's rough. Chubby Kumquat. I'm so awkward when I cold approach people that I think it's off-putting a lot of the time. Same. I don't know how to do it.
I think that I'm not that great at that many things, but I'm very good at that. And I don't know how. I was thinking about this a lot before the stream because I was like, I don't know how to like what it's because it's a thing that comes naturally to me. It feels like, and so I don't know how to like describe how to do it if that makes sense. But I think being genuinely interested, I think, is a big thing for me. I
Yeah.
finding things that are really interesting, like I don't know, don't and that's the kind of thing that we were talking about before. Like don't pretend to be something you're not, which is a really easy trap to be in, to fall into when you've had people shit on you for being who you are, because like if you're not actually that interested, people can kind of tell, and like and it's also just not going to end up as a good thing, like you know you're making it off of false pretenses. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I I wish I had more specific advice in how to do it, but
Yeah. And it's tricky because I think, and this is true of so many ADHDers too, but autistics as well. A lot of times our genuine enthusiasm we've been told is like way
yeah.
weird or like way too much. And so then we learn to like stifle it so hardcore that it's like, it almost feels like it's some kind of crime to be like caught being like too into something because then if you're too excited, people will ask you like, are you okay in that weird judgmental way, and then you die, forever, and
And then
and
you're
you get
in
the
the
little
ground.
minus. You're in the ground and everybody has the little minus signs from the Sims over their head and they hate you because you were happy for a second for some reason. Um,
Oh god.
and so that means we get scared of our own enthusiasm and our
Yeah.
own joy, which is really fucked up.
Yeah.
So practicing reaccessing that stuff. And again, for me, it's almost only at like nerdy spaces. Like at Fur Fest, because I can't read people's nonverbals. I can't read facial expressions. It's all very scary to me. But if somebody's in a big fursuit with a happy face on it, I'm like, well, clearly they want me to
Yeah.
feel good looking at them, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
smile and wave at them and be a little bit more open physically, and people respond to that and like talk more to me. Whereas normally when I'm out, I'm like people can pick up on that I don't want to talk when it's really not necessarily that I don't want to talk. It's that I just have no idea what the fuck's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. Anosognostic said canvassing or working in the service industry are difficult but very effective ways of learning how to break the ice.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's probably part of it. As I for me too, as I've been in the service industry, like that's pretty much every job I've had as an adult. So
Yeah, and for me, and it's gotten a little bit rusty because I've been teaching online so long now, but like switching into like teacher mode can kind of help because there's like a tone of voice and a posture I can put on when it's like I am in charge of the social interaction and I'm saying, hey guys, we're doing this. And that's when I finally have the power to like initiate. But it's a lot harder to do like kind of a soft, like, approach. But if I'm thinking of it in like a teacher mode way, then it's a little bit easier.
have
But
any
that's
of
not
us
always the tone.
tried going into a social situation and just like, all right, everybody, look up here.
Yes.
Have we tried that?
Somebody should. I mean, I can't rule it out until until we try.
And write it down so it's science.
Yes. And Eric said like the good thing about the cold approach is it doesn't matter if it fails. Like it just
Yeah.
And this is kind of like pickup artist shit, but it's like true.
Yeah.
You like almost have to aspire for I'm gonna get 100 rejections.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna go for that.
Yeah, you fail every shot you don't take, you know.
Right. But Kumquat, I'm in the same boat as you, where being nervous about the interaction or not knowing what to say means you come across as suspicious.
Yeah.
I for me have kind of almost just like written off like doing a cold approach in a vague kind of mixed social setting where there's a lot of people. I just can't do it. I don't know what to say. I'm like blanked out. So like I'm like evangelical Christians talk about how if you're a good Christian woman, if you want to find a husband, you don't go after them. You're prey in the woods, and you need to just snap twigs so that the predator can find you.
What?
And that's my
Sorry.
and that's my main friend making strategy is that I'm just snapping twigs in various places hoping that people come up to me, and in fact that has happened.
I did it, yeah. Man, why did we have a whole stream about this? Why didn't we just say that? Just go out in the woods and make weird little Blair Witch dolls and maybe no.
Like that, I mean it's a joke, but it's 100% real for me that I was like, I'm just gonna make art that I like, I'm gonna go to places, I'm gonna put myself in situations, and sometimes people will talk to me about that. And
Yeah, I mean that's really
works.
true. That's kind of what we were talking about before. Like, if you go to enough of the shit that we've been talking about, like, you don't need to cold approach because you're gonna be doing this sport together, or you're gonna be doing witch camp together, which I love. I don't know what that is, but I'm into it.
yeah, we need to hear more about what witch camp is.
Yeah, still on my mind. But yeah. But practicing does help. Like, I think that you will, if it, I fucking get the rejection sensitive dysphoria shit where it's like, you're afraid of the rejections fucking hurt, but like unfortunately the more you do it, the better, the more you're going to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, the distress regulation does start to go down. Though it's always such a whenever it's anything disability, there's this dialectic between I'm gonna accept that I can't do this thing versus I know this thing doesn't come naturally to me and I'm gonna try it more often so that it's less distressing that I'm not naturally good at it or that I
Yeah.
struggle with it.
Hmm.
And those two things can both exist. So I'm plenty good at initiating through messages. Like I can message someone and say, "Hey, do you want to go to the movies with me? Do you want to go do this? Oh, this thing made me think of you." Sliding into people's DMs to talk about something. I can do all of that. It's the empathy and the nonverbals in a real time interaction that I can't do, and that's fine. Like you don't have to be able to do that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so you can kind of find where you belong on that spectrum of accept versus change or whatever. Yeah, so I think we can go to the next
Yeah.
slide, I
Everybody's
reckon.
everybody's saying so many good things in the chat, and I'm trying to keep up with them, but
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of good shit.
And I think a lot of this stuff is relevant to what we're just talking about, social initiation. How the fuck
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, you literally wrote, "Help! I have no idea how else people start conversations or friendships." And that's the problem is I don't know either. I don't do this shit consciously. I don't have a filter, and so I say shit at people, and that you do that enough, and sometimes it's good. So you know, maybe you could take that to heart. Just
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for like some people can just talk out loud, kind of to themselves, kind of to the room, and it's charming. And then other people do it and it's scary. And I don't understand.
yeah. I don't know. Um,
But that's definitely a thing.
yeah. Oh yeah, what is
Um,
this? What is this? There. Well, let me catch up on the chat. But then that's a TikTok we should watch, right?
Yeah, we have a TikTok about small talk that an autistic actor who is or performer. I think they were on Dating on the Spectrum or something like that, or Love on the Spectrum, whatever it's called. They have a great tip for small talk that blew my mind. So we can watch that in a sec, if it's not too hard to pull up on your
Oh yeah, I
end,
should be.
Maddie.
Yeah, that is another thing, and we kind of talked to Q Bay. I'm autistic and dress very Lolita, very gothic, so people naturally approach me, and I start off every interaction with dropping the autism bomb. Haven't had a bad encounter yet. Yeah, I get so much
Yes.
mileage out of my hair, which obviously that this takes a lot longer to make happen, but it's like. I'm also like goth, and I dress. I've my whole life I have dressed weird, and I think that has helped a lot too, right? Like, I've like so many of my interactions have started from like somebody coming up to me because I dress weird in whatever way that's been, and that's huge.
Yeah, and that's a strat that a lot of people with physical disabilities have told me they use too. That like
Mm,
they'll have a really bright wheelchair or a really bright cane or really wild hair because then people see them as an individual with agency who made choices about their body instead of seeing the disability only, and seeing them as lesser or less human because of it.
that's
So I
really
think
interesting.
yeah, and I think a lot of autistic people, a lot of us gravitate to kind of alt presentations or transing our ganger, um, and that's a nice benefit of that as well. That like you get to make decisions about how you want to present in the world, and you can do things that are different. Um,
All right, I'm gonna bring up this TikTok.
It's occurred
yeah.
to me that I've
Okay.
not shared the tip with you about bonding with neurotypicals in the workplace. Tell those
Before we get too far, can people hear this? You can hear it, right, Devin? So everyone else should be able
I
to
can
hear
hear
it.
it. Hmm.
I gotta wait for the delay.
Yep. Yes. Sounds good.
Okay,
We can
cool.
hear.
Perfect. I'll make it a little bit bigger for y'all too.
Sweet. God. Look at this tech mastermind, video producer, co-host. She does it all.
I know how to resize things in OBS.
It's occurred to me
Oh
that
my
I've not
god.
shared the tip with you about bonding with neurotypicals in the workplace. Tell those bitches what day of the week it is. Bitches love what day of the week it is. You'll be like, it's Thursday, and they'll be like, yes, finally Thursday, almost to Friday, we've got one more day. I know what day of the week it is, and you know what day of the week it is. In addition to that, we know what day comes next. For some reason, if you walk up to a neurotypical person and just tell them the day of the week it is, as if they don't already know, they seem to really appreciate it. And it can lead to a further conversation, or they'll just think you're friendly. Sometimes, on the days that are closer to Monday, you can use the days of the week instead of a greeting. They could say good morning, and you could say, it's Monday. And that will suffice as a greeting because they will likely say, it is Monday, and that's your greeting. You don't even have to say hello, you just have to say what day of the week it is.
That's really fucking brilliant.
It's great. I'm gonna really, if I have to actually interact with coworkers again with any regularity, which God willing I don't, but if I do, I'm gonna try that shit because it lets people talk about how they're feeling. It lets them talk about the weather. Talks about they can talk about what they have going on that day or the next day. It opens up this field of possibilities conversationally that are almost all safe and appropriate, um,
Yeah, don't be
without
afraid.
feeling as stilted.
Don't be afraid to ask about the weather. The weather is a great fucking thing. I don't know. I'm a big fan of small talk because it's easy to do. And like you could just talk about it and everybody has something to say about it. Like I talked about this with dating, right? Where it was like if you send somebody when we were talking about dating, like if you send somebody a message on a dating website and you say hey, like there's no follow-up to that. But if you ask somebody in person like what the weather is, they're gonna have something to say about it, and that can turn into more talking, and that's enough. Like talk about what day of the week it is. It's fine. Like, and that will turn, and that's not an interesting conversation, but it will, like, turn it. It can turn into more. Yeah, kind space wizard. This is it. This is how you do small talk. You ask, it's shitty out today where I am, and you could just say that to someone, and they'll be like, yeah. And you could do that
And
online
it's
too. Like,
Yeah. It helps like build like affiliation in people's minds. It's like, wow, we're really in this bitch together. It's shitty out together, or oh, it was shitty here the other day, but now it's nice. Okay, great. Like it might I used to find that stuff when I was young and an edgelord super annoying because I was like, what's the point? Why aren't we talking about the real issues?
yeah, yeah.
But the older I get, the more comforting it is to just it's just actually a way of like it's like two dogs barking at each other. It's or birds chirping. It's a way of saying I'm here, you're here, we're literally vibing, like we're safe, like and once you realize that's why people are doing it, it can be kind of cute. Like especially like at the bus stop. Like when you talk to somebody at the bus stop and they're nice about the weather, it just suddenly makes it feel a lot safer and less awkward to be standing your ass out there
Hmm.
in the rain.
And you can it can branch off into other things.
Yeah. Or
De-
not,
or
depending
not.
on the situation.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Witchy Face says the thing is it looks a lot like masking to me and it can get exhausting. I'm curious what like if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. Like there's I think a very masked, inauthentic way of doing it. An inauthentic feeling way of doing it, and then there's the way of just registering that like because I don't think is like shaking somebody's hand masking, not necessarily. I think it's like following a social ritual that like once you understand it's like symbolic. It's like, okay, I can do this thing. I know how to do it. I don't need to like put any like fake performance into it. Barring, if you don't want to shake hands because that's really sensory upsetting to you, then doing that would be masking, right? So I think I used to hate small talk because I thought there's some hidden agenda here. I don't understand what it is, but I need to be really pleasant throughout all of this and give the right mystery responses. And I feel like now that I understand, oh, no, the whole point is to just do it, to register. We are here together. We're chirping at each other. Cool. It's a lot easier to be like, oh, I can actually say something kind of weird. Like I can say that I like that it's gloomy out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, like sometimes people are actually interested if you like say something kind of weird in small talk. There's certain bounds that you do still have to worry about, especially professionally, but like a lot of times I think you can do small talk while being authentic. You know, you don't have to inflect your voice in a fake ass way. You can just be like, the sun is out today.
One thing that I've done recently, which I don't think is probably a helpful thing, but I do it because I have an internal existential dread that I need to commiserate with people, is sometimes, if it's hot in the winter, like it's just like fucking 50 degrees where I am in Michigan, and that freaks me the fuck out. You can I will say something like that. Like I'll be like, you know, yeah, it's really warm out, and that gives me dread or something. Like you could be subtle about it, like, and then see how they respond, because if you can have that conversation, that's also a thing where it's like that's some real shit that, like, you know, now if they're the person who agrees with that, and that is a conversation you can have, like, I don't know, that's just a random, not as a
Yeah.
broad suggestion, but as a thing that I have been doing lately, just because it feels nice to commiserate the existential dread with somebody. So
You can come with the realness. Yeah. Like, and I wrote about this in the book that, like, I was at this work meeting in early 2021 where the icebreaker was like, what's something you've missed during the pandemic? Like, and people were posting, like, oh, this restaurant I haven't been to, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know, all the people that died, you know, like,
yeah,
because I thought it was like a fucked up question, you know,
yeah,
and like it broke the ice, not in the way they wanted, but you know, like you sometimes can come with the realness, and it's almost like a vibe check. You don't need everybody to like you, like
yeah,
as much as it feels like that's a life or death matter. Like the person facilitating that workshop who asked that really insensitive icebreaker question, I'm kind of, I hope they're afraid of me, you know, like but the other people at the meeting who also thought that question was weird to ask as a lighthearted chit chat question could be like, oh, thank God somebody's saying it, you know?
yeah,
And those are the people I want to bond with anyway, you
yeah.
know?
Walmart Couch says, okay, I straight up watch reality shows and take notes. LMAO, it's gotten me so far. That is great. My spouse had top surgery. They were off for 3 weeks. I was unemployed, and we watched all of the Marvel movies. Which I mean, I didn't only do it because to have something to talk about, but because I was genuinely interested in, like, was like, this will be fun to do. But damn, that is like, I literally, part of the reason I wanted to do it was because it's like, that's just like sports, you know. I could fucking, most
Mm-hmm.
people have seen most of those movies and will have an opinion on them, and that is like such an easy thing to like talk about, and that's fine. It's cheat. Like, if you could find a cheat, fucking do it. Like, watch reality TV shows if you're in a situation where you think you're gonna be able to talk about that shit. Fucking
Yeah,
neurotypical people talk about TV shows most of the time. Like,
right.
that shit's.
Right. People love talking about movies they've seen, shows they've watched. Like that's kind of the height of it for a lot of people. Oh, Seb. Oh, hi, Seb. First of all, hi. Thanks for being here. Second of all, great tip. Like, there's nothing wrong with systematizing this stuff. Seb wrote, one thing I do when dealing with neighbors, work colleagues, people I'm not close with, is I make notes on my phone to keep track of names or where it is they're going on holiday next year so
Wow,
I can remember to ask about it.
that's really smart.
Yeah. I do this like with social media, and if I know I'm going to a party and people are going to be there that I don't talk to a lot, I'll like quickly refresh my memory of like who they are and what they've been up to. So then if I run into them at the party, I can be like, "Hey, how was that cruise that you were on? How's that?" And like usually, like I try to pick things that I'm actually interested in,
Mm-hmm.
because again, going to the masking piece, not having to fake it is always better. You know, and I think because I think Cube Bay, it might have been you who mentioned that like small talk is really exhausting for you because it's boring, so having to fake being interested, I don't think you even have to do that. Like you can keep it short, or just ask the things you're interested in, um, to make it a little bit less of a masking enterprise.
I think this is sort of, and not exactly super relevant, but I want to say, when you move somewhere, if your fucking neighbor tells you their name, write that shit down, because you will not use it for a calendar year. You might not see them, depending on the situation. It might be a year from then when you see them again, and you're not gonna remember that shit. And you're gonna have to ask again, and it's gonna be awkward or something. And so if you meet your neighbors, find out their names and write that shit down, because you won't remember it. If I have one piece of advice ever,
Write down the names. I never remember names, and like as a trans and autistic person for years, that Dale Carnegie advice of like every person's favorite sound is their own name. I was like, that can't be true. I hate hearing my name, and I'm the normal human. And so I just reflexively don't do it. It feels too intimate, and I've been told that by people many times, like, oh, you don't use people's names. And I'm like, I literally could know someone for years, and I'm gonna be afraid that I actually don't know what their name is.
is that a trans thing too? Because I am the same way. I never thought about that as like my own name being a problem. Damn.
I don't know. I will say it's turned into an advantage, because with trans people, it's like if you don't remember someone's name, it could be because their name used to be Goat, and now they've gone through they're on their third non-binary name, and now it's like Sedgwig or something like that, and you're like, what are you going by again? Okay, great. What are your pronouns again? Like, it's almost, if you know the person, it's not rude to not remember their name, because some people's names be changing a lot.
Oh God.
And for being able to forget somebody's dead name, it's like I have this magic block that like I just don't remember people's dead names.
Oh my God.
It's like
I have to try
magic.
so hard sometimes. If there's like a reason I'm like, wait, what was their dead name? I have to like think about it, and it's kind of great.
Yeah. Well, I think Cupid, I think I saw you left a message about, living in Cleveland. It might be controversial in certain circles, but Halloween being 70 degrees is undeniably wacky.
Yeah.
And even regular winter weather is interesting enough when you get to like snow days off work or trading stories of cars sliding on black ice. Yeah, exactly. You can talk about like, oh, this is unsettling. Let's, again, be real about it. Or like, oh yeah, my car just got, it took hours for me to dig my car out. Like,
Yeah.
it's commiseration, and that's a really good bonding moment. Even if you don't have a lot in common with the person, it just helps you feel a little bit more like, okay, we're aligned. We share some struggles, and sometimes that's enough. Yeah. Wow, forgetting your own partner's dead name. That's next level. That's allyship.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah, unless we have any other words on
We're jumping around.
initiation. Yeah. Okay. So all of that so far that we've talked about is really in the name of how do I put myself in new situations, meet new people, have conversations with people that I haven't talked to before. So then the next struggle becomes the conversion. How do you take someone from a person that you chit chat with informally at work or at this meetup and turn it into something that's more lasting and might even remain in your life even after that initial place where you met is no longer shared.
I thought, oh, hello, Cooper. Say hello to my other cat. I thought that the way we met was actually a really good, because one thing that you did do is I'm fairly sure you messaged both me and Megan after that. And you were like, hey, that was really fun. We should stay in touch. And that was the shit where it was like, because I definitely like, I remember like they were thinking like they were really cool, but like I don't know if they, like if he wants to like keep hanging out with us or whatever. But but that it can be as simple as that. And then also I thought that it's the way that we deepened our friendship also could be instructive, which is like we were like that was actually in a really good kind of time and place where we met right before the pandemic, basically. Well, like a year before the pandemic or something. And then you made a Discord for a friend Discord that we ended up hanging out on really regularly, like especially over that first year of the pandemic. And so, yeah, I think that having things to having things to do with people and doing specific things is like such an important part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was something where it was just like, I was feeling really, as I already mentioned, kind of uncomfortable at that concert alone, even though, there's times where I like going to things alone, but like um and so I was just really so like touched that I like got to have this really nice interaction enjoying this concert with people who were like really warm and were actually really into the artist because I didn't know that many people that were into Dorian Electra. And so it was just all cool on like a bunch of different levels. And so, like I was just like really thankful to have met them, and so I just conveyed that after we met in that message. And so then, we had contact info. The next time you were in town, you guys also asked if I wanted to get coffee with you somewhere in addition to meeting up at the concert. So then we got to talk more. And then, so showing genuine interest and inviting people to do specific things, I think really helps. And then, yeah, just like Maddie was saying, the consistency piece really helps build camaraderie. And I really kind of miss it, actually. It was like every Friday, us and a bunch of other friends would get online, we'd play Jackbox games or Among Us or,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever else. And then we would switch over to, for a while, watching another friend of ours play, being a bartender, role playing being a bartender maid in like Final Fantasy
Oh my
Online.
god, yeah.
That was the afters.
Um, but yeah, reaching out afterwards is like a huge thing. And then also that brings it from the in person to the online too, because to have both of those kind of, those things.
Those modalities, yeah, because all of these things translate to online friendships. Because I know, speaking to a disability oriented population, there's a lot of people who still don't socialize in person, who might never want to do that very much again, like, or never really got a lot out of it. And I think that's all fine. Like, it is completely possible to have all of these things happening online, because that's how a lot of our relationship got closer, and how Megan and Maddie both became friends with other friends of mine was through watching shitty movies online, playing games, showing up consistently. You get to know the person, you develop little in jokes based on what their answers are to different Jackbox questions, um, and you have just moments of bonding. And so consistency is really, really helpful for that. Whether it's going to a trivia night every week, that's another thing that I
Yeah.
was doing for a couple years. The comic book club that I'm in, the genderqueer discussion group I used to go to, like that kind of stuff. That
Yeah.
consistency really helps.
Yeah, don't be afraid. If you do have any kind of good interaction with people, like in all of the ways that we've kind of been talking about, if you have a way to reach out to them online, like, if you go to a Facebook or like a Facebook meetup or like group, and then you have an in-person thing, and then you have their Facebook chat thing from the reach out and be like, hey, that was fun. You know, what did you think of this thing? Or like, the same kinds of things of like keeping the conversation going.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and as Cupid was saying, like just asking somebody after you've had a pleasant interaction, like, do you have an Instagram? Do you have a Tumblr?
Yeah.
That tends to be an easier ask than asking for someone's number, um,
I don't
just
ever
because
want to
people don't.
I don't ever want to give anybody my phone number, not because it's like private, but just because like it feels so like for somebody to text me feels so like direct. But if it's on
Mhm.
like a social media thing, we could just sort of be like acquaintances where it's like maybe we don't necessarily direct message, but like I'm going to see the things they post and they see the things I post, and that's like this like sort of like, you know, we're in the same
Yeah.
space. But it also feel that's just a weird thing where like DMing or IMing or whatever like feels way less intimate than a text, which is, I don't know, weird
Absolutely.
culture thing.
But it's true, like, and as much as I like shit on the big social media apps lately, like it is a really good way to get a sense of who somebody is and kind of like chat, because their Instagram story is like a discussion prompt, like you
Yeah.
can talk about things that you have in common. And it's also a good vibe check, because if the way they're engaging with it makes you uncomfortable, that also tells you something. So it is often a good place to start
Ask people
versus
about
just
their
a
cats. I that reminds me that if we were talking about small talk. That is such the great thing. If you know somebody has pets, or if you can talk about pets and show each other pictures of pets, that's the real shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pets. Yeah, Cupid and I kind of became friends through talking about astrology shit and then moving into discourse and then if somebody asked me my opinion on ContraPoints, we're gonna have a long conversation and probably if we survive it, be friends. So that was another good thing I remember early in us chatting Cupid. If they can hang with the discourse,
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I like to get deep, like whatever that means. Not emotionally deep necessarily, but like, or not emotionally raw because I get scared, but like talking about like big thoughts and experiences, like
Yeah.
you know, which maybe that's the autism not distinguishing between levels of friendship and not having boundaries thing. But it's like I love when I can like talk about you know some real shit with people. Um, Basically never reach out to friends, but because I don't think of it, and because I never know what to say if I don't have something specific I already want to talk about. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so Len, that comment reminded me of something that I did want to bring up because I know like that's a very ADHDer thing. I mean, it's everybody under capitalism too. Period.
Yeah.
Um, it's okay to like have a system. I know like a mutual friend of ours will just like literally like have in their notebook like to-do list for this week. Talk to this person. I haven't talked to that person in a week or two. I'm just gonna message them and you know see how they're doing. Like
Yeah.
I think
That's really smart.
I think sometimes people think that's like cold blooded, but it's who cares? Who cares if you have to do it analytically? Like that's just how it works for me a lot of the time. Of like, that's how I figure out who I buy Christmas presents for and things like that too. It's like, oh, this person bought me a present, so I'll get them a present next time. Like that reciprocity, or like this person asked me about this, so I'll ask them about that. Like that's fine. To like have a rule set. Um, that's not like cheating. It's fine to
Yeah.
have a calendar that reminds you to remember someone.
It's fine to cheat. Like,
Yeah.
cheats are just like ways to do things. Like, this shit is not.
Yeah.
Oh, Cooper, thank you. That was helpful. Look at him. Look at this
Oh,
boy.
oh my God. Oh my God. Just fully at ease, comfortable, lounging.
Moisturized in my lane.
Yes. Thriving. Um, I have made everything into spreadsheets and lists. Yes, we love it. Oh, Rain Bang Tan Simp says, but that's also so hard because if you talk about things you're interested in, people will put you on a pedestal you're not going to be able to reach. So I just try not to go in too deep for any topic. I'm curious what you mean there. I guess, do you mean like the level of intimacy in the relationship that it's like, oh, we've talked about some real shit, and so now they expect something emotionally from me that I can't provide? Because if that's what you're talking about, I totally get that, and I've uh, written checks my ass can't cash emotionally many times.
Or do you
But
just mean like how much knowledge you have on a thing, maybe?
yeah, that was what I was wondering if it was that way or the other way. Idea: have enough groups you regularly go to that you can talk to people from one group about what you did in another group.
That's fucking good.
Yes, and it also conveys, and it's kind of unfair that this is a thing, but like people feel safe when it's like, oh, this person is socially connected, like like that
Yeah.
puts people at ease, like
Yeah.
as unfair as it is, right? That it's like, oh, this person has so many interesting things going on. I want to get to know this person. They go kayaking and they, make uh, Warhammer minifigs. They've got it all, and it's real. You do have it all. um, Seb says, I used to fixate on messaging order and how long people take to message you back, and took a long time to understand people are usually more likely to be busy than to actively hate you.
Yeah. I am so bad at messaging people back. I am actively horrible at it, so it's and most people are have that to some degree, and it's just yeah.
And then do you feel like, Maddie, like if you miss a certain window where it's been, let's say, a certain number of days, that then you're like, well, now I can't message them because it's been
Yes.
too long?
Yeah. And also it's just like I have that ADHD thing where it's like I'll get a message and I won't be able to message back immediately for whatever reason, and then it's gone. It ceases to exist. And so it's just like, and then on top of that, the thing you're just saying of like the farther it gets, the like more anxiety I have about trying to like message back. That's absolutely a thing for me. And like, it's okay. Yeah, like in that situation I would love for you to double message, like, please.
Yeah,
it
double
will
message.
it will it gives me another chance to message back immediately, or it gives me another chance for it like to reset that timer. Like, it's okay to double message. It's
Yeah, and also like fuck the timer. Like it's fine to message someone 2 months later, I think.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
In my value system,
one thing
like
one thing I do with most if I start noticing that I am regularly especially with emotional stuff, like I find that if I have conversations around people with where people are like, I'm like having a crisis, I will tell people specifically like, do not be afraid to message me a bunch and I'll get back to you, because that is kind of a thing that like is sort of taboo or whatever. It's one of those things where you're like, I'm not going to send them a wall of text and they're not here, but like I will specifically tell people like, yeah, message me a shitload when I'm in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping, and I'll like get back to you when I wake up. Like, but
yeah. It's really nice to have explicit conversations with those things. Like I've definitely had to tell some people like, listen, um, sometimes it takes me a while to get back, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't message me as long of messages or what you're sending me. Like, like it's don't interpret that as meaning, that I'm ignoring you or something. It's just like I cannot manage my affairs, and I'll see you when I see you.
yeah.
And just making that stuff explicit is fine. Or, if you're someone who doesn't want to have your notifications blown up with a lot of intense shit, that's fine too. Just let people know like, hey, I can't do this, but you can, email me, you can do this, whatever it is. Like there's no one standard for how to do this stuff. So just being clear with someone about what feels good for you or what you can or can't do can really help reassure them that there's nothing going on, because a lot of times people do interpret it as a negative when it's not personal at all.
Mm-hmm.
What about responding too quick, cat hair? Fuck that. Fuck anybody who thinks that's a thing. Like it's like that he's just not that into you kind of straight dating world shit. Like fuck that.
Yep.
All that shit goes in the garbage. Fuck like not, showing someone that you actually like them. Fuck like thinking that a message that you put too much care into it and needing to go back and edit it and remove exclamation points because you don't want to look too enthusiastic. Fuck it. Like just do it, like uh, as long as somebody hasn't told you you're crossing a boundary where you're doing something invasive that they've asked you not to do, like, that's when you'll know not to do something. But like if it's like feeling like you need to just act like you don't like someone in order to make them like you, fuck that shit. Like it's
We're also all on our phones constantly. Like, if you message me, I'm
yeah.
gonna probably message you back immediately because I'm fucking staring at my phone when you message me. Like, yeah, of course I'm gonna message you back right away. Like, I'm staring at it. Like,
Right. Yeah, if somebody thinks that's creepy, like that's not, like there's certain games that people think that they have to play to have relationships, and that's what's going to lead you down the path of, to go back to that Sam Dillon Finch article, prioritizing friendships that feel unsafe because you're
yeah,
used to having to try and not trusting when it comes easily. And that's what his whole article is about, is that he would kind of feel creeped out if people were actually there for him. Like it felt like he could never earn or be worthy of their love, and so he was creeped out by people who were consistent and warm and interested. And I think if you try to play by those rules that say that you're not supposed to show too much interest, you're going to end up in those inauthentic friendships instead of having the authentic ones and getting more used to the safety of that stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, that's that's my rant on that.
Yeah. Um, Rain Bang Tan Simp. Yeah, the knowledge thing. I only have knowledge on certain topics, but it sounds smart. So people assume that I'm smart. So they expect me to have my life together. But then when they get to know me a little, they have to get to know I'm too sick to be smart. So you can see how they're judging, and it's all icky. I kind of understand that too, because from some of my, like, yeah, I have mental health shit that makes it hard for me to like do shit. So it's like, yeah, I didn't do anything this week. But I yeah, go on.
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, yeah, just saying, like, I get that, you know.
I think in reality, though, a lot of times I've noticed, especially with neurotypicals, is like if they think that you know a lot, they get intimidated. And so I think people tend to like it when you like say like, "Oh, I don't know much about that. Like, can you explain
Yeah.
it to me?" Or like people like humility, like and people having human like limitations and flaws, like I think that helps a lot of people feel comfortable. Like a friendship isn't, "Oh, this person is the most useful intellectual resource possible to me." Like that's not how people are thinking about friendship. So um, I think in a lot of situations it would be okay to just say, "Oh, I know a lot about this, but I do not know a lot about that." Like
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people find that likable.
yeah. And also it kind of goes back to a thing that we've been saying a lot is, like, you know, if they're not somebody that, um, if they're not, if they, you know, find out that, you know, that, like you were saying, that you're sick and they are not into that, like, unfortunately, that's just going to be part of that discernment thing, is like, they are not going to
Yeah,
be
fuck
some,
them.
yeah, you're not going to want to pretend that you're not who you say you are, you know, or whatever.
Right. Yeah, they suck. Yeah. Sometimes it's like better to find out how much someone sucks sooner rather than later, even though it's like we feel like we're supposed to avoid uncovering those tension points. It's actually kind of a good thing um, to spare your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And Cupid, yeah, I think you're right that like unless you're besties with someone or dating where there is kind of more of an expectation of responding to messages more quickly that a lot of people have in their relationships, not all, but a lot of times if it's a friend, you know, that is more casual, if you drop off the map and then you come back, you know, a week later like, "Oh, sorry, just getting back to this message," people will just be like, "Oh, great," you
Yeah.
know, because they're probably more worried that they did something wrong if they are even thinking about it. And a lot of people aren't even thinking about it. Like most people will be like, "Oh, hey, how have you been?"
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm getting very distracted by my cat.
Oh, oh,
He just keeps, look at him.
oh, yawn.
This is Cooper, by the way.
Yes, sweet boy. Um, Auxiliary August. I'm struggling with whether to let go of a friendship. We were very close for years while they lived in the same city, but they moved back to their hometown and they don't respond to messages unless it's about their special interests. It's been nearly 2 years of them never reaching out at all, and I'm really sad. Like, if there was a reason, that's fine, but they just don't talk to me. I guess I would say, like, what are you getting out of the friendship at this point? You know, like,
Yeah.
um, it's a sad loss, but it's also like instead of thinking of it in terms of like what did I do, why did they stop putting anything into the relationship, I think maybe just thinking about it in terms of what are you getting out of the relationship right now, if anything, you know. Do you enjoy those conversations about special interests? If moving forward that's all the friendship would continue to be for now, is that something you're happy with? Are you okay with being the person who only initiates, which it sounds like you're not? And if that's the case, then it's like, you know, it's just not worth your energy anymore. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Lennart Lau, you could try talking to them about it. Worst case, nothing changes, and you let go of it anyway. And yeah, that was what I
Yeah.
was going to suggest. Is like, it sounds like this isn't a good situation, uh, you know, and we're like, yeah, it's hard if you've tried talking to them and like, do they? I imagine they're kind of like, yeah, they say they'll change or something, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, then you kind of already have your answer. Like you told them that you had a problem, like, or maybe you said something like, "I'd like for you to ask me how I'm doing once in a while," or initiate, and they didn't change. So you have your answer. Like it's not even really like a question of like what do I do with this friendship? They've kind of demonstrated how little they value it. Um,
oh,
and so then you can stop pouring energy into it. It sucks, you know. Some people friendships are only sustainable for them when it is that immediate return of proximity and things like that. But yeah, there's nothing you can. You've done everything you can, you know, and it's not on you. It's just their priorities, and they're showing how like how selfish their relationship is to you, um, and it sucks. It
yeah.
sucks when it comes to that, but yeah. And then you can decide how you feel if they ever end up living in town again. It could be they just don't have the capacity to maintain friendships that aren't the ones that are immediately in their face. But it, you know, ultimately, it doesn't matter why.
Yep.
You know, you just know that you're not being treated the way you deserve to be treated and the way you want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Seb, on people seeming too nice, there definitely have been a couple of people that I felt unnerved by because of their energy, but after getting to know them, I've realized it's usually more of a defense mechanism for them, at least in certain cases, and they share all those same insecurities, even if it doesn't seem like it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think the too nice question is really an interesting one because there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in it, right? Like boundaries, feeling uncomfortable receiving affection because you think you don't deserve it. So then you get creeped out by actually very healthy things, you know? Oh yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, that's the thread that Sam Dillon Finch wrote about that. And so yeah, so that was one of his tests for whether somebody's one of your strawberry people in your life is are there people in your life who seem too nice and you don't trust it because you think you're not deserving of it or that you're going to let them down. Um, and I think there is a flip side of that. If sometimes people are too nice and we feel uncomfortable with it because we think there's some hidden agenda or kind of, and I'm going to use MRA speak here, covert contract
Oh
embedded
no.
in their niceness. I mean, these things catch on because there are some social principles to them that are like real.
Right. Right.
And so, like in MRA speak, the idea of having a covert contract is like, and this is something even MRAs. I'm sorry to info dump about one of my most evil special interests, but just for a second, they say, you know, if you're trying to pull bitches, don't have covert contracts. So, for example, don't offer to give a woman a massage because you think she's gonna have sex with you. Offer her a massage if you want to give her a massage. No, that's a
That's
weird example.
but that's
You
wild
only
that
would do.
there is that amount of, I don't know, self-awareness there. That's
Yeah,
shocking.
because it is part of like how you come across as like confident and not having an agenda is if you actually don't have an agenda, if you actually are enjoying the things you're doing and you only do something for someone because you get something out of it too. It's a weird example. That was because I mostly followed married red pill, which was guys who were using red pill on their wives who weren't sleeping with them anymore.
Oh no.
But so for that context, it is actually good advice that it's like,
Right.
don't try and manipulate your wife into having sex with you. Do things that you actually want to do. Show genuine affection if you actually still have any fucking affection for this person, and
Yeah.
that'll be better for your relationship
Yeah.
than if you have this manipulation and scheming. People don't. If people pick up on that, they don't like it, and
Yeah.
so people do have instincts for that. Because I remember a few times when I was younger and before I transitioned, sometimes people would come up to me on the street wanting to be friends, and it was like, wait a second, you don't want to be friends.
Witchy Fae, MRA is men's rights activists. They're it's a whole thing. They're
Yes. Yeah, if they were actually about, you know, the liberation of men from masculinity and straightness and all of that stuff, we would love it. And Men's Lib on Reddit is a very good community. Men's Liberation on Reddit is a positive one. That's not the same thing as men's rights activists. Um, so just a little shout out for them.
we don't think men should have rights here. Sorry, Devin.
Transmisandry strikes again.
Yep.
Eric says, a great example of a flopped cold approach. I asked if a girl was interested and she said she had a boyfriend. I said, that's all right, but he's not invited.
Offered to get the guy get a girl a drink, buy a drink. No, thanks. I have a boyfriend. Okay, well he'll have to get something small. The classic
Counting
tweet.
my change.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that. You know, in another world, that line would have totally worked. That's insane. Oh my god, I love
He's
that.
not invited. Could have had another friend.
Yes. Gotta have another friend. Yes, 100% speaking from experience. A lot of guys are super, for some reason, the chat always is censored for me. Super nice to me because they think it'll lead to having sex, which is crazy because logistically I could not have sex with all of you guys.
Oh,
Well, if they were interested in a, you know, a communal experience, maybe, but
oh well.
Cat Hair Everywhere said, are they adjacent to the concept of a soft boy? I went down that tunnel the other day. No, because they're more like alt-right pipeline, like men going their own way, no fap, men's right activists, gamer gators, like those are all kind of aligned. Whereas like the soft boy is like a guy that says he's like left-leaning, but is like super sensitive, like sensitive, manipulative or whatever, you know. I think a soft boy's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a soft boy, but I'm not an MRA.
Oh yeah, this is the last slide too.
Yeah, we got through all of our dang old slides.
So, yeah, now you should have all of the information you need.
Yes.
You're done.
Yes. So, well, yeah, we could talk a little bit more about the conversion aspect because you said that, Maddie, for you, that's where it gets tricky. Is it just kind of like how do I know this person actually like
For
likes
me,
me
it's
like
just,
that and the consistency and that shit?
for me, it's more just like having the consistency to like do things regularly. And I think that like I haven't done this, but I think like having a system, like I have so many friends that I would love that I don't ever see, and I would love to like all it would take would be for us to hang out, like for me to do a thing. And I have this idea that I keep not doing, but basically like if you want to do you know, take my advice that I don't actually even do, but like I had this idea to just like look at my calendar for like the next 3 months or something and block off like, oh, I could see like I could have people over for dinner or whatever, like this day, and this day, and then just like messaging all of those people that I've been meaning to reconnect with and just being like, hey, do you want to hang out on one of these 6 days, and then just slotting all of those people in. Like, yeah, that is, it's yeah, it's just hard with just being tired all the time.
It's a lot of logistical work, but
Yeah.
I will say like the making plans with someone and then canceling is like undervalued as a social maintenance
Yeah, that's a really good
thing.
point. Yeah.
Like like even if it takes like weeks longer to actually hang out. Like it says to someone, I value you, I want to spend time with you, and also I respect you if you end up being sick that day, and I respect your boundaries. Like I
Yeah.
love making plans with people and then we can't follow through on it. That is still communicates to someone you are wanted and you're cared about, and also your boundaries are respected. Like, like that shit's great
I
too.
I know somebody earlier brought up like it being hard to like as an autistic person dealing with like plans changing. And that
Hmm.
could be a hard thing, like letting people cancel and knowing that that's a good thing to be able to do, but like dealing with that personally. And I wondered if you had anything to say on that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on the cancelers side, like it's a really good I think it's even part of the conflict repair cycle in a lot of friendships. That's like it's good for deepening the relationship to be like, listen, like I can't make it because I'm really stressed out over work or I have a headache or like whatever, honest reason, like I'm overwhelmed, like showing that vulnerability and then realizing the world did not end. This person isn't mad at me and we'll reschedule for next week or whatever.
Yeah.
That really helps build trust in relationships, I think. And then I think on the being having plans canceled on you side, I think that's also true. That it's like when you reschedule and you still see the person, that helps slowly teach your brain that you don't suck and are hated, and the person didn't cancel because they hate you.
Yeah.
But you know but then yeah, you do need some, if either of those things throws you into like the panic of like I thought we were doing this and now expectations are changed. That's, yeah, then you definitely have to have some strategies in place for coping with that, which can be like, I don't know, like I had social energy budgeted today and now it's empty, so I'm going to hit somebody else up, or like
Yeah.
is is one way that I might cope with that kind of thing or something. But
That's a great strategy. Yeah, don't be afraid. That I think that's a interesting thing to talk about is like um the like making plans in advance versus like, yo, I'm doing something right now. Like those are both good ways to, like, if you find yourself having a free night, like, and you are able to feel like you're able to go do something, like that is an option that, hit people up, like, hey, do you want to go do something tonight? Like, I think there's a lot of people who won't want to do that at all, and that gets a lot harder as an adult to do that kind of stuff, but it's definitely an option.
yeah, yeah, especially if you do have people like in your neighborhood. Like I have friends that I can hit up that are within walking distance, where it's like if I want to be like, "Oh, do you want to get an ice cream tonight? Do you want to go, to like karaoke or whatever?" Like some of those people are down for that. And getting yourself like a few like extrovert down for anything type friends. I mean, like God bless those people who can just roll up to something and be like, "What's going on? Where's the party at?" Like, it's a very different dynamic and it's fun.
Back to our
I
big
was just
chat.
reading. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, I'd go back. Oh, we can go back to our, now that we're.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The Talking Heads, the meeting of the minds.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that stuff is tricky if people live far away. Though I think with like digital socializing, it can work out.
Yeah.
Cupid, I'm not surprised to hear you're the friend who like roll up. That's it's magic. It's magic. I love the come through on the drop of a hat friend. Oh yeah, and cat hair, learning kind of the patterns of like, okay, this friend cancels a lot, so I'm going to keep that in mind with when I schedule things for them so that it would work, won't impact me too much. Yeah, with things
Yeah.
like travel or whatever.
Absolutely.
I even had a friend who, she was very like hyperactive ADHD, kind of flighty, very passionate, exciting, So I would make more plans with her than I could normally sustain because I knew like a third of them just weren't going to happen. Because she would like literally be like, I was redecorating my house at 4 a.m. and a box hit me in the face and I had to go to urgent care. It was like, like
Oh,
that's just,
bro.
she had that dog in her.
Called out.
One Brie, yeah, we'll highlight the whole video to watch later, and I'll also put it on YouTube, so
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to watch it here or there afterward.
Yes.
Yeah, you bet.
This would be a good time if people had other questions that we didn't touch on specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, any other questions people have or thoughts about this stuff? Oh, I'm glad it was calming.
Yeah.
Online friends are great. The only problem is they can't hug you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain things that are way tougher, but for the like immediacy of like, oh, can you hang out right now? Like online gaming and Discord and things like that are such a godsend. Or just calling somebody up.
Yeah, that was a thing that I we kind of touched on, but I wanted to like actually really say is like having continuing friendships is so much about what you have to do together, like finding a thing to do together. My spouse, or and making it regular, like for example, my spouse, my spouse's friend had a baby this year or this past year, and so they have a standing every Tuesday to get together because it's so hard to like plan things, and Megan just goes over there and hangs out with the baby and the baby and their friend, and that's really helpful. Another example is me and my spouse have this other couple friend that these friends that are another couple where we started gaming together over the like especially over the pandemic, but we keep doing it, and it's like they are some of our closest friends, and it's because we have a bunch of games that the four of us play, and so we just really regularly sit down and play. Like they really like Phasmophobia and games like that. We also play a lot of like Back for Blood, and we played some survival games and stuff like that, and that really helped.
Yeah, having a standing date and having the kind of friendship where you can just drop over, that is so clutch for like I have a friend from high school who has physical disabilities, so just knowing that like her house is someplace that you can just kind of drop over and watch really shitty reality TV and like watch her play a horror game and sit on the floor and order food like, and there's no like burden of like hanging out being some big production, and that just makes it so much easier for everyone, and that's how it has to be, to even be accessible, but like it actually leads to greater intimacy, I think, sometimes. Yeah, and having a standing date. Running errands together is, yeah, cat hair
Uh,
everywhere, that shit is god tier
Yeah, and
hangouts.
I've heard it's very much a thing that people do really regularly outside of America, and like Western culture, it's not as big of a thing, and it's fucking great, and it could be helpful. I mean, that's a whole thing that we didn't even get to talk about. Is like, you know, that like it's okay to ask for help from your friends too. Like once you start to get into that place where it's a little bit more of a friendship, like things that can keep that friendship going is like, I can't clean my house. Like, like
Hmm.
come here and help me, and I will come there and help you do a thing that you can't do. Like that shit is great. Or just like come with me to get groceries. It'll be easier to do it if we do it together. I love clothes shopping with people because I love clothes shopping, but I never want to do that shit myself, and it's so nice to like have someone to do that with. And
Yeah, yeah, clothes shopping, helping people pick out gifts for someone, like that, and that's the kind of thing where like people like feeling needed, people like feeling helpful, you're not actually it's not a burden to like ask your friends for help, and that's the kind of help that is almost never a burden to provide. Of like, I need to buy something for this baby shower. I don't know what infants are. Can you go to Target with me and help me figure this out? Or like,
What are
my friend
larvae? I
Tina.
don't understand.
There's these larvae. I don't know. I sound like Invader Zim. I don't understand how these human larvae.
Humans.
Human, but it's real.
Yeah.
Or my friend Tina wants to have a party where people just like, she owns this big building and she has all this like, she has like 5 motorbikes. She has all these bolts and nuts and pieces of metal. So she's like, I just want to have people come over and help me sort all of my bolts.
You got to introduce me to this friend, because that sounds sick.
Oh, you would like Tina. You would like Tina a lot. Yeah. Yeah. One time she literally had a party that was like, she like said to me, like, I'm interested in this slime thing. 'Cause this was during my slime phase.
Yeah.
And was like, why don't we make slime and you can also sort my bolts. And I was like, okay. And we did, and it was
That's
great,
amazing.
you know? And it didn't feel like I was doing her a favor. It was more like parallel play, you know?
Yeah, that was another piece I was gonna get to. Like, it's okay if you don't know what to do with a friend. Like, y'all can just fucking chill and look at your phones and show each other memes. Like, that's sick. That's great.
That's enough, yeah. And I think it was Cupid who mentioned the idea of like an alternative to the errand run is just calling somebody up as you're running errands.
Yeah.
That's really just squeeze in, you know, some time if they're the kind of person who's down for that. Just don't use speakerphone in public or I'll end you.
Yeah, get one of those little guys that go in your ear, or some AirPods or something. Thrifting with friends is so good. I'm obsessed with thrifting.
So fun. And so it's cheap enough you can make it a regular thing, and there's always new shit
Yeah.
at the thrift store.
Yeah, even if you don't buy anything, it's fun. Just look at all the little tchotchkes.
Yes.
I was literally like, do I have a random tchotchke I bought at the thrift store? Probably some of the weirdest shit that I got at the thrift store. And this goes into, I got this at the thrift store. And you know what's even weirder? I got 2.
Yes.
I have 2 foxtails that I got thrifting different times.
Wow.
This one of them was at my job. I used to work at Habitat for Humanity, so it was at work, and I just took it home because everybody was like, why was that donated? That's gross. And I was like, I don't want it. Yeah, I don't know why.
So for you and for whoever you want to glomp, you have 2 matching turtle doves.
My little
tails.
My little ponytails, but they're
Oh my god. Oh my god, like a raver girl like aesthetic, but with like
oh my god.
pigtails. Oh my god.
Don't know why. This is the thing I have they're hung up really high. You can see me going all the way up there to hang them so my cats don't destroy them.
Oh yeah, I bet that's very appealing to them.
Calling while we verbally shitpost to each other for 15 minutes is a great activity with online friends. Fuck yes, absolutely. Helping Bestie renovate his house. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's fun. Like, even if you don't have relevant skills, like, I think this is something that the anime sickos have talked about, of just being like, can you come over while I do my laundry?
Yeah.
You don't have to help. You can play you can play my video games while I do my laundry.
It's so
That's
great.
Like literally how they hang out.
That's so good.
Cute.
Yeah. Rain Bang. I'm sorry to hear that has become more difficult with you needing a wheelchair more. Ideally, there are people in your life that wouldn't mind, helping out. And
Yeah, and finding ways to kind of like trade skills with each other, and like finding other disabled people that are down for that. Like, it's unfortunate that we have to figure out and build this infrastructure for ourselves.
Yes.
But
it gives an opportunity to do shit together,
yeah. Oh, a friend came over and built my TV unit for me as a housewarming present. That's really nice.
I would totally do that. I fucking love IKEA and shit. If somebody was like, I don't want to build this, I would be like, yes! Let me build your IKEA!
Vibrating. I wish I had a skill like that. I wish someone would be like, can you fight with my uncle on Facebook for me?
Oh, that's so fucking funny. Oh, cleaning club.
Skills.
I get on a Discord call with my friends and do chores together and call it cleaning club. I love that so much. Oh, that's really
That's
good.
cute. Let me play with power tools for a couple hours. Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, Twin Peaks chocolate bars by looking around weird knockoff shops. Ugh, it's the best. If you could find gifts at secondhand stores, those are the best gifts. It takes longer because you gotta find it's harder to find stuff, but it's the best. Such a good story.
Yeah.
Spidey Sunday, where we watch different Spider-Man movie or TV series every week. Ugh. We watched the entirety of Twin Peaks over me, Devin, my spouse, Seb, and some other people. We watched all of Twin Peaks, old and new, and the movies.
The extra little snippets, missing pieces. Or
the missing
called.
pieces, which is the extra of the movie, and that was great. It kept us coming back. It was very good.
Yeah, and then we kind of, things dispersed a little bit more just because where people were out in the pandemic. But now sometimes we watch Queer as Folk, or I think we're gonna watch some Neil Breen movie soon, hopefully, and reschedule that.
Yeah,
watching bad things is also very good. Not that Twin Peaks is bad, but it definitely gets a reaction out of people.
Yeah, watching bad movies is really fun because you can it's so like you're talking about, like, to be in the hater. Like it's like a good movie you have to concentrate on, but a bad movie you can fucking talk shit about, which is like such a good activity.
And it's fine if you miss a line or something that happened because people were talking, whereas if it's something good, then you're like focused on that, and it's like, no, the goal here is socializing. So yes, and Dead Like Me maybe at some point.
Oh, yeah. You have multiple people asking if you're gonna fight their family,
fight their relatives.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be a better version of myself. I'm trying to be less angry. So you've missed the boat on that. For now.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
Get you back into that angry place.
That hateration and the holleration on Facebook. Degrassi, Gossip Girl, Outlander, every Sunday in rotation. Oh, Mr. Robot was so fucking good. Cupid. Oh my god. I still haven't finished the last season, but I already know everything about it. From the subreddits and shit, but I gotta finish that shit. Rami Malek also he's so sad and so cute. It just really, I'm like tearing up because I'm so turned on by how pitiful he is. Like, it's unbearably erotic for me. That boy's so sad.
Getting people gifts online on Poshmark, online thrifting, and we've found the best shit not currently in stores. I have online shopped with somebody remotely, and that is very fun also.
Yes. And there's a lot of if it's like a fun gift where it's like, I need to find a haunted doll for this person. I need to find a vintage Swatch watch for this person. It's the thrill of the hunt is great. And then you get to research things and info dump to each other about, the history of Swatch's different business partnership and collabs. It's like fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of shit to nerd out on. Rami Malek's My Little Baby Boy. Yes. Online dance party. Yeah, we went to several of those.
Those are really fun.
That shit was great.
I'm sad that they're not as extant as they were, because those were really fun.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, there is like, Twitch is kind of the final frontier there, where there's like a lot of DJ sets. Um, Hana Wins is one of my favorites on here, who's Grimes' best friend. But she's normal. She's normal. It's Farrar. Do you have any tips on how to deepen online friendships when meeting in person isn't possible? I think moving it into let's do something synchronously can really help. Like, do you want to play
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons with me? Do you want to watch something? Like moving it to Discord or moving it to like where you have some kind of live interaction is kind of like the next step, I feel like.
Gaming, if you can.
Gaming, yep.
If you're not as much into video games, but you do like board games, there's always Board Game Simulator. It's a great option.
Roll20.net for all your tabletop RPG needs. And they've even added video chat on there, so it's amazing. Discord screen shares of Mercari, yep. Show your hauls. Sending mail to each other, postcards,
Yeah, that's a great thing.
treasures, trinkets. Commissioning a furry persona of them for them without telling them.
That is a really good.
Wow, should we wind down, especially since you might maybe go to Aikido later?
Yeah, yeah.
Depending on how you're feeling.
Yeah, since we're kind of getting to a stopping point, maybe I will take this time. I have not gone to Aikido in like a month because I've been sick, so I'm gonna try to go tonight.
Yeah.
So maybe
yeah.
we'll jump off a little early.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're gonna stream again on Thursday.
Yeah.
Everyone, we're gonna if you were here for We Know the Devil, we're gonna play it again and try to get the good ending.
Well, I was hoping if we can do like kind of a full run of the the good ending, because there's more than two, right? There's a bunch of them. So because I was thinking if we go really fast, like literally not even reading it unless it's new, like we might be able to do a couple endings, but we'll see. We'll do at least one more ending.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on how much, I was trying to think like how much extra dialogue is there after each choice. And I don't know that it shouldn't be that much. So we should be able to, get
Links
some
in the
endings.
doobly-doo.
Link in the doobly-doo, nerd fighters.
Yes. Thank you, Eric. Follow, subscribe, check out our Tumblrs.
Yes.
Check me out on Mastodon. I'm finally, what am I? Test device at mass.to. I'm on co-host.
Fuck yeah.
I've been
And you like co-host the best, right? Or no, or
well,
Mastodon.
Well, okay. I like the people that I'm following on co-host the most. There's really fun stuff happening on co-host. I like Mastodon the best conceptually, but I'm still struggling. My feed is starting to get better. I just found on Fedilabs, the app Fedilabs, I found out that you can subscribe to instances, which has helped me a lot. But
Oh, okay. So then you just see a lot of the things that are like trending on that instance or whatever. Or
yeah,
like
you
just
see like
chronological
everything
on
on
the
that instance.
Yeah.
So and it's
right, because they don't do trending shit, right? It's just like
no, not really. Yeah, it's all
Which is
chronological.
good.
Yeah.
we love a chronological feed. Uh-oh, we have some instance.
Can you
some
not?
instance wars.
What's wrong with Mass Tattoo? I did want to find a different one, but is Mass Tattoo bad? I thought it was just big.
Yeah, I thought that was just the big one.
Gotta give me the drama.
Yeah. Just looking to see who's streaming right now for us to raid. Let's see. Oh yeah, maybe we should do Diva Panda. That's the panda furry who was doing Legos the other day. Though I think she's just playing God of War Ragnarok.
Legos would be fun in general.
Yeah, I wish she was still doing Legos. 'Cause
Yeah.
she had this whole like workstation video. It was so good.
So yeah, please hit both of us up. Tumblr Ask Boxes are great places. If you have ideas for things to stream about, if you have questions that we can answer, please hit us up.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I always, I think we both always welcome questions in the on our on our Tumblrs or on this page in the little ask box, or like suggestions for future streams and shit, because we're gonna be, you know, streaming more regularly the next couple of weeks, trying to get that fucking affiliate status. So,
Yeah, we will
you know,
probably be here Tuesday and Thursday this week and next week. Um,
mhm.
is kind of the plan. It's big that it's so big that they struggle to keep bigots out, so some of the smaller queer focused instances have defederated. That is very good to know. I did not know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of like the thing that one Anna Valen's article was talking about. That it's like the tech, the tech people contingent doesn't understand the needs of the more marginalized contingent.
Yeah, just anything that's big enough is just hard to. That's good to know because I was already looking for another instance. So
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna jump to Diva Panda. Thank you everyone so much for hanging out. This has all been kick ass.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And hopefully we'll see some of y'all on Thursday, too.
Doing the countdown. I still don't understand how this works. There we go. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.